salad out of chicken shit.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. I am the Rainmaker, Lachlan Albert, and I am joined by the Australian Dragon, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. The COVID beard is coming in quite nicely, I think. A very rustic look.
I was gonna say, getting the old man beard going. It's fantastic. Speaking of old man beard, I'm also joined by a man who walks through whatever door he pleases, Jeff Setti. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Forbidden or not, I'll knock that fucker down. Well, thanks, Lachlan. I hope you're both well. It's good to be back.
Good to see you as always, boys. And hey, if you're hearing us right now, you might be listening to our podcast after it's, been on the air, uploaded to all the places it goes, or you might be right here live like D. James Fortescue is in the chat. Good evening, mate. And you can join us live every time we do one of these by heading over to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. You can hit the follow button so you get notified whenever we go live. You can hit the subscribe button to support what we're doing here. And you can join in the conversation, make your thoughts heard, be part of our little nonsense wrestling talk that we do, as D. James Fortescue is one of the people who often is. We today are here.
I should also add Nightmare BC666 has joined us as well, as they regularly do too.
Seems like kind of a loser, but anyway, we have an event to talk about. It's a door that, honestly, you're allowed to go through sometimes at this point. AEW's Forbidden Door has become an annual event inviting dream matches between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers. This is a show that had a ton of matches. We are going to get straight into it. I think the way to do this one is to quickly run through the pre-show as a whole, and then we'll run through the main show match by match. So before the show, I will note there was a dark match that didn't get broadcast. That was Filthy Tom Lawler defeating Serpentico. That to be in there, replacing the unwell Adam Cole, who was originally scheduled to have a match with Tom Lawler. So that one went on before the show went on the air. But once it did go on the air, we had the Mogul Embassy in the form of Swerve Strickland, Toa Leona, Brian Cage, and Bishop Cowan, accompanied by Prince Nana, defeating Chaos in the form of Rocky Romero, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and El Desperado. We also had Athena beat Billy Starks in a first-round match of the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. We had El Phantasmo beat Stu Grayson, and then we had a six-man tag with LIJ in the form of Shingo Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi, beating United Empire in the form of Jeff Cobb, Kyle Fletcher, and TJP. Any strong feelings about the pre-show, or was it just too many matches on top of an already stacked card?
It was too many matches, but I did like LIJ against United Empire, of course. It was always going to be a good match, and it delivered in spades. TJP looks old. He looks old, doesn't he?
He's looking like he's been around the block.
But, yeah, otherwise, not much to say.
It looked like a taping of Ring of Honor TV. That's what it looked like. If I run down this card and just look at it off the top of my head, I'm like, oh, it's a Ring of Honor show.
very much.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Anywho, let's get on to the main show. And it opened with a big match. Hiroshi Tanahashi challenged Maxwell Jacob Friedman for the AEW World Championship, though due to a shot with the Dynamite Diamond ring, MJF retained. Tanahashi, obviously a massive legend, someone who has done it for a while. I'm always kind of surprised when Tanahashi shows up on a show that isn't a New Japan show, how much he just looks a little more human than he does when he's in New Japan. In New Japan, he has this like crazy aura in those buildings. I don't know what it is, but he seems supernatural. And then he shows up in literally any other promotions and he seems like an important man. I don't know what I'm trying to say by that. I thought this match was pretty good. Tanahashi's obviously great. I love MJF's work. He did classic heel shit. Tanahashi is a classic babyface ace. It was a good match.
Yeah, I like the breaking of the air guitar. I thought that was hilarious myself. I will say, speaking of looking old, Tanahashi, he's got to be about a year, and I say it every year, but he's probably only a year before becoming a New Japan dad. There's nothing wrong with that. He'll be an amazing New Japan dad, but he's going to become one quite soon. I thought this was
turning 47 this year.
47. Gosh, he can still go very nicely for 47. It was a good first match. It was a good opener. MJF did all the right things, and Tanahashi, they made each other look great, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, look, I felt like watching Tanahashi like the night before on Rampage, and then at Forbidden Door. He looks like it's one of those things where he looks like someone's always running through mud. If that's a way I can describe it. It looks like it's hard for him to move quickly. It's hard for him. It looked like everything looked like a struggle when I was watching it. And I'm just like, that's the first time I was like, wow, because I don't really watch New Japan all that often anymore. Like I used to be I used to watch like every second day of the G1 because just with work and all that, you can't catch everything. But like I've been
this year
for a while. Yeah, I've sort of been out of the loop for a while, and like watching him, and like first thing I thought is, geez, he's aged. That was the first thing I thought in my head. Like he's moving a lot slower. You can tell MJF had to sort of slow up to accommodate his movements, and that was the thing. It was a good match, and it was fine for what that was. I honestly think that Tanahashi and Tanahashi, one of my favorite New Japan wrestlers. I just think that time is catching up to him.
While I would agree with you, you said similar things, if you remember, about Lita, and that Lita always had a rubber band pulling her back.
Yep.
I have a question for you. Who would you rather watch in the ring? Lita with her rubber band attachment or Tanahashi going through mud?
Well, look, I will say straight up Tanahashi, because the guy actually is a regular worker. So like Lita had the fact that she was like running through mud or running with a rubber band attached to her, and ring rust.
Yeah,
which is a double whammy. Like I don't know why. If you know like Tanahashi is, because like blind Freddy can see that he isn't what he was.
Yeah,
but dude's been wrestling for what 24 years now.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Why would you put him on Rampage the night before?
No, that's true.
Fully agree.
That I agree with.
And you'd save him, like give him a bit of fucking. But that was that, and that's just the takeaway that I had when I watched it. I was just like, wow, he's getting old. Yeah. It's a sad thing to see because one of my favorite workers, but just getting old. He can't do the ab thing anymore. That's for sure.
Oh no.
No, but to be fair, he's moving slowly because it's hard to suck that gut in for about 15 minutes.
But like, it was a good match. It was a good match. And MJF, but I could see MJF having to slow his pace and work at a different pace, because he could see after a couple of minutes, oh shit, this guy's not.
Yeah,
he's not as quick as what I.
In saying that, working that slower style, I think works well for MJF because of the kind of build of him. He looks like that's the style he would always work, right? He's actually a guy who works fast for what he does. So having to slow down, it didn't feel like a slow match to me. It felt like what I would expect looking at MJF. It's just that normally MJF works incredibly snappy.
Yeah, I just it wasn't my favorite Okada match. It wasn't Okada Tanahashi match. It wasn't my favorite MJF match. It was a good match and it was fine for what it was. And they were probably smart to put on at the Open, because then you had all these other matches to follow it. But yeah, great, unbelievable legend of the sport, Tanahashi. Nothing to take away from it. I just don't think that was his best.
It wasn't his finest ever.
It wasn't.
But I think it's also worth mentioning at this point that the crowd were absolutely boiling all night. They were an insanely good crowd. They were Puerto Rico levels of good.
Speaking of, maybe the man they wanted to boo the most all night, CM Punk, our good friend Pepsi Phil, showed up to have a match against absolute legend of the sport, Satoshi Kojima. This one, I think, I was expecting not as much from this one, knowing what we've seen from Punk recently, knowing that he hasn't been working a lot recently. Kojima is, you want to talk about someone who's been doing it a long time, Satoshi Kojima. And these two worked really well together, I thought. Kojima hit that elbow drop right to the nards. That was beautiful.
But he apologized on Twitter.
He did apologize on Twitter for it. He did say that he's not good enough to have done that on purpose. So I like that. It was
52.
Yeah, insane. Absolutely insane. Absolutely. But the match was really quite good. I thought that Punk knew that he was the heel, worked heel, was absolutely the right choice, because if he had tried to work face, this would have been a disaster. But from the get-go, he knew he was the bad guy and played to that. And he's going to have to play to that going forward. Kojima felt like a great foil for him here. I really enjoyed, even though Punk won, really enjoyed it.
I think Punk had to win.
Because
you go first, Tom. You go first on this one.
Because it was part of the Owen Hart tournament, Punk had to win it. You can't.
Yeah, Kojima's not going on to round two.
No, exactly right. And Punk just goes. Punk is a professional wrestler, so he'll go with whatever the crowd gives him. If the crowd's gonna chant for him and cheer for him, he'll play into that. If the crowd are going to boo him and cheer him, he'll play into that. He does not care. In fact, I think he enjoys it. He enjoys the challenge of going out. What have I got tonight? Okay, they hate me. That's cool. The dude worked with fucking John Cena for 2 years. He knows how to react to crowds that don't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it was a good match. It was a very good match.
I loved it, to be honest. I thought it was like the unsung hero match of the show. Punk worked amazingly. Kojima definitely held his end of the deal up. Absolutely held his end of the deal up. He was out there to work and really, really put Punk over. The selling of the go to sleep at the end was just beautiful. It was like he'd been shot. And yeah, sure, he was probably quite exhausted, but it was great. I had a really, really good time with this, and I think Punk leaning into being a heel, he can get used to seeing that, because I think he'll be doing it a lot until he takes his bat and ball and goes home again.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But see, that is not something that he has created. That is something that has been created for him by the other parties.
And I like Punk. Look, I like Punk. But I just don't think he's going to be around for long.
I like Punk too, but I also the fact that like if that's what if Tony wanted Punk to be the number one babyface of his Collision show, which that's what it seems like, that's the whole marketing around it was that. The fact that you've got the Bucks and Kenny sort of going end around to Uncle Dave and like constantly saying stuff like that and feeding that to their masses, saying like this guy's an asshole. This is a situation that they've all created for themselves now, and this is something that they're going to have to deal with. Because I did like, as much as everyone said, oh, they couldn't be in the building together, and that's why the Young Bucks and that weren't on Dynamite last week, because Dynamite was in Chicago. No, they weren't on it because they knew they were going to get booed out of that building if they'd have walked in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is totally
different. And they were all in the same building tonight, so...
Yeah.
The Forbidden Door.
Punk will skip into Reseda. Happily.
Yeah.
And get booed out of the building because he's a professional wrestler. I just... That's the one thing I don't like about them. That the Bucks and well, not so much Kenny, but the Bucks. Because I'm not lumping Kenny in with them. I just don't. I think Kenny is a victim of his circumstance.
I think so. I think so to an extent too. But to be fair, we have spoken about this quite a bit in previous weeks, and we are on a bit of a shorter time frame tonight.
Yes.
So can we move on?
Yes.
While we're here, we'll use this time instead to thank the Natural One, Zach Reynolds and Piers Austin, who have shown up in the chat. Good to see you, boys. Piers Austin suggesting wrestling fans care more about Punk, good or bad, than the Young Bucks and Omega. Smart business bringing him back. Hard to argue with. Has been
quite a good
story
point
since he returned. But moving on from that match, we did have the AEW International Championship on the line. Orange Cassidy, obviously the holder of the IC title, defending against Zack Sabre Jr., Katsuyori Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. I love Daniel Garcia's dance. It's just, want to see it all the time. Look, we all knew that Daniel Garcia was in this match to get the pin. That was always going to be what he was there for. Shibata was going to kick the shit out of people. ZSJ was going to put on some submissions, and then Orange Cassidy was going to win. And hey, that's what happened. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was incredible, but I like seeing ZSJ and Shibata near each other, and that's... If you like any of these guys, you got what you came for in this match.
I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, I'd have scrapped the 4 shows at the pre-show, put this on the pre-show, and been perfectly happy. Just give this long enough on the pre-show to fill the time, and we're good. You didn't need any of the other stuff on there. Give it to these guys. Would have been great.
Yeah, you can't do that to the way that Tony Khan has organized AEW is that Orange Cassidy is a linchpin in that. So there's no way he's going to be on the pre-show.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying.
No.
It was a pre-show match.
If that was me, he would have lost that title to Daniel Garcia that night. Just because I think that would have been something no one expects. No one would have expected it. And yeah, look, it was a good match. It was a fun match. And this is a guy who loves Katsuyori Shibata. I find it awkward watching him now.
Yep.
I just get worried every time he's taking something. What are you doing? Stop getting slapped in the head. You literally had your fucking brain taken out of your body and put back in. What the fuck are you doing this stuff? The stuff that they had and the stuff that New Japan were doing with him, just exhibition stuff, grappling only. That's a safe way to go about it. And I understand if he doesn't want to do that and he wants to wrestle more and he wants to do it very much like Bryan Danielson. There's certain things though when they suggest it, the guys that are working with him are going to say, have to sort of go, what? No, man, I can't do that. We can't. No. I'm not going to sit there and slap you repeatedly in the head when you've had a severe brain trauma. Because that's literally what happened when they did the operation on him. They took his brain out and they freaking I just it's
Because there was
awesome
a
to watch, and I
bubble
love
in
the
it.
guy. Yeah. And I love the guy, and I love the worker, and I love that. It's just, it's
I think
it's that's the only thing. And I love the match. And if it
my
was anyone
favourite
else in that
result of
match,
this,
but Shibata.
my favorite result of this is that we're going to get a one-on-one between the Japanese television champion. You guys discussed that earlier, didn't you? Yeah, never mind. And and Orange Cassidy. Just giving you some shit there, Todd. Bit veiled.
They've
but
already had
giving
that.
you some-
They've already had that. They've already had the
No,
match.
no. But I'm really looking forward to it. They're going to do it again. They're going to have a one-on-one
And-
between ZSJ and Cassidy, which would be great.
But
Yeah,
that'll
and-
be good.
They were building on the fact that, you know, Shibata and Orange Cassidy have worked together before and all of that stuff. They really did come into it. I agree with what you're saying about Shibata, and I want to put a little bit of a pin in that, and we're going to bring it back up when I say the words Tiger Driver 91 a little bit
Yes.
later.
For fuck's sake.
And as Piers Austin said, sometimes these guys need someone to save them from themselves. We'll be bringing that up with the phrase Tiger Driver 91. So after that, we went to a huge matchup on paper. Anytime you have the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on the line, it matters. It goes in the record books. And it was Sonata versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry, which I think it's probably fair to say between the three of us, we're a little underwhelmed with that selection of opponent for Sonata. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and so Sonata won it. Shock horror that Jack Perry didn't become the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And then after the match, I know. After the match, he turned heel on Hook and spiked Hook down there. Yeah. It was fine. I like Sonata a lot. I thought it was fine.
Sonata's great. He got a good match out of it.
Sonata looked like he was playing with a kid. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, because I said to you before, it has been a while since I've watched New Japan. I just hadn't got around to it. Like, just something that's not come up. Watching Sonata, I'm like, wow, this dude's gotten a lot better. I love the new look. I love the whole the deal.
He's a good-looking fella.
On. It works for him, but it was one of those things that looked like that could have been a match on Rampage. Really,
that looked like the warm-up match for Sonata's title defense.
Yeah, and here's my other thing too. Like, he goes on at the end, Jungle Boy or Jack Perry now, or whatever you want to call him, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, turns on Hook, and then grabs the WTF title. What makes you want that title? What in any way makes that title in any way prestigious? That's what you want to do, that you would turn on your friend for it. Like, I don't, please, if you two can enlighten me onto why you would do that. I have no idea.
It's a
why
belt and they stop your pants from falling down.
But I just don't know why.
I
don't know. Yeah. Taz
I think
did a
it would have
better
been
job
much
selling it than anyone.
I think it would have been a much better ending if he'd have grabbed that belt and just thrown it on the ground. Like, just, this is pathetic. Because obviously it was his dad's belt, blah, 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 blah. I didn't mind this match, but I agree with you. It was like the match it was a warm-up match for Sonata to then have a match against somebody that's more serious later in the show. Almost like Daniel Bryan did against Trips at 30. You expect more than this for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And Sonata's amazing. Jack Perry, he's okay, but I just wasn't into the match at all.
I think Jack Perry's got a huge future, and that future is in the future.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
What is going to be more interesting, like, for me, is seeing him having to carry Hook to a series of matches. Because Hook hasn't lost yet. And that's going to be,
and that's a really good point. Like, if this company wants to put Jack Perry in the kind of spot where he is a future champion, where he's carrying storylines, this is going to be a really important test for him. Hook is a young guy. He's got a lot of the right tools, but getting a full, interesting, entertaining match out of him for the full length of a title match, that's a challenge that Jack Perry is going to have to rise to. So as much as I don't particularly like the story, I think for his development, this is a great spot, and it's a good way to have Hook in a position where he looked actually threatened.
But my question is, okay, Perry's a heel now. Where do you put him? I don't think he's a lone heel. I think he's almost got to go back to Luchasaurus and Christian at this point.
I hope not. I really hope not. If this was me and it was my book, I'd have him going after Orange Cassidy. I wouldn't have him going after Hook. I'd well away from Hook.
I think that you're going to put him against Hook. They're going to, because it's where the end of the match.
They have to. But I'm just.
But I agree with
that. Thing. He would be going after Orange Cassidy, and that title. That's a title he should be going after, not a fictitious title.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the place you put him is probably on Rampage. Moving on. A 10-man tag match with the Elite.
Like you're trying to take my spot.
The Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. But these versions were a little bit unusual. The Elite, represented by Hangman Adam Page, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, Eddie Kingston, and Tomohiro Ishii, against the Blackpool Combat Club, Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, Konosuke Takeshita, and Shota Umino. For me, I would have rather this be a 6-man, take out the Bucks, take out Yuta, take out Shota Umino. I think it would have been much more interesting. And I think for me, the match was what it should have been when Eddie Kingston was in the ring and when Takeshita was in the ring. Those guys were doing the work for this match.
Yeah. I will add one more name to that list, and that is Tomohiro Ishii. Worked his fucking socks off and was great. I mean, but the guy doesn't need to do much. He can go in and chop the shit out of people, and you're going to go, yay, he's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm an absolute mark for Ishii, so fine with it.
That's the thing. Like, guys like Ishii and Claudio and Mox, they don't have, like, bad matches, right?
No, they don't.
No, like this match to me was one of those ones that screamed, we have to have an AEW guys, we have to have New Japan guys. So let's just throw these guys into something that's already going on with the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. But for me, weirdly, considering how much of this I thought could go by the wayside, take a drink, by the way, because I said for me. I think Eddie Kingston's storytelling here was unbelievable. If you look at the way he positioned himself within his team, I messaged a group chat I'm part of and said, he's in a 10-man tag match. He likes one other person in the match, and that person's on the other team. Like, it was so interesting to watch him want to get his hands on Claudio, not want to hurt Moxley. In fact, protect his friend Moxley from his own team, despite that being his opponent. And the conflicted, what he was going through there, like, was so interesting to me. The idea that if you watch his tags, he only ever tagged in Ishii because that's the one person on his team he respected. He didn't tag the Bucks. He didn't tag Hangman. He only tagged Tomohiro Ishii. I love that shit, right? Yeah, I thought that stuff was absolutely brilliant, and they made Takeshita look like an absolute beast here. Low-key, I think this is one of the best matches on the show.
I agree with you. I thought it was a fantastic match. It was tons of fun, and that's why I liked it. It was just a balls-out, fun match with like 10 guys that can go. The development of, as Mox calls him, Shooter, is incredible. Whether you wanted those guys to be in the match or not, they were in. And I acknowledge that at times the Bucks are lazy. They kind of rely on, hey, aren't we cheeky fun fuckers? Yeah. But no, in this match, they had their working boots on. They were out there to make everybody look $1 million, and they pulled it off. And it did come close to stealing the show, but for one specific match. And I think we all know which match I'm referring to. I liked it. I had fun. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. You know, you knew Willie Yuta was going to be taking the fall. So, yeah, great. More of that.
Yeah. Like, adding on to what you said before, Lachlan, like, Eddie Kingston is like the fucking MVP of AEW. I don't care what anyone says. Everything he does looks and feels real. Every time he talks on the mic, it feels real. It feels like he is just saying what's exactly on his mind and pouring his heart out. That interaction he had with Moxley on, I think it was Dynamite. It was Dynamite or Rampage. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Dynamite when they started talking, and like Moxley did the whole like fucking wrestling trope thing. Like, if they stand behind you, protect them. If they stand next to you, fight with them. If they stand against you, blah blah blah. And Eddie wasn't even playing any of that shit. Eddie was just like, "What is fucking wrong with you? We're friends. What the fuck are you doing with this guy? You know how I feel about this guy. What the?" And then, like, you could see Moxley going to say something and then backed off it. And that's when, like, in a real conversation, when you're having a real conversation with your friend and they're about to say something and back off it, you press them. And that's exactly what he did. He went, "What? Say it. Well, you say it. Just say what's on your mind." And that to me is just like, that's fucking wrestling. That is, you're stirring real emotions out of people. There's a real feeling going on here. And in today's wrestling, that is so hard to find. And that's why I just think Eddie Kingston is the absolute MVP of AEW. He should be getting all the flowers.
And something that feels weird to say, he doesn't sell like a wrestler. He sells like a dude who's been hurt.
Yes.
And I love that shit. It's incredible. You watch him take a chop and he just like hands on the legs and he is just going, "Oh, that hurt." And then he gets up and he moves his whole body to serve one back. It's like ugly and raw, and you go, "Oh, this guy's looking to hurt whoever's standing against him." And when they hit him, it hurts. And that matters in this.
At some point, they're going to have, obviously, they're going to drive towards an AEW Claudio versus Eddie match. But I think before that, at some point, we're going to see Claudio against Moxley.
Well, they already did it in like Ring of Honor recently.
Yes, but they're going to have to transfer that to the main card, because Ring of Honor is like NXT, like, you know.
Well, they did it on the pay-per-view. So it's not like they did it on just like the Ring of Honor.
No, they didn't do it on a minor show. I agree with you. But at some point, they are going to have to do it. Now,
I think what they're going to do is Moxley and Kingston. That's going to break down.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was getting to. At some point, they also have to have Moxley against Kingston. When would you do that? September? The September show?
Probably like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Like, no, but this is what I mean. I don't think it matters.
Holiday Boys on fire.
I know. I don't think it matters when you do it, because someone's well rested tonight. Doesn't matter when you do it, because the story matters and makes sense, and you can have it fire up whenever those two guys don't have something to do on a show, or you can build it for 8 months into a big climax. It doesn't matter, but it's going to feel good either way.
I'd build it.
Yeah. The problem is for Tony anyway, is that he puts so much into TV shows that, like, there's no such thing as a building up for him.
No,
there's no such thing. It'll be like, oh no, we'll put it on like Collision in 3 weeks, or we'll put it on
Rampage next week.
Yeah, or I need to pop a rating, so we'll put it on blah blah. Instead of, and the fact of the matter is, he's had Forbidden Door, he's got All In, then he's got All Out in, like, I think it's how much of a space of, it's like a 2-week gap or some shit.
3 weeks, I think. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a lot of like big matches they have to go through. with not a lot of time. It's like there is no time to set up between All In and All Out. Really.
Well, we've already discussed that Park might be back. So if Park's coming back, they're running out of time to introduce whatever match he's going to be in. Who's going to face MJF at the next show? You know, they're really compressing it too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
And I don't know if you've noticed too, because they were talking about the whole, like, Punk's first feud back was going to be Samoa Joe. And he's been nowhere near them except for that first week on Collision. They're going to meet. They're not even going to meet in the finals of the Owen. They're going to meet in the semis if it goes the other way, which to me, that makes no sense at all. You would think, why wouldn't you put Samoa Joe on the other side? Samoa Joe, CM Punk, finals of the Owen Cup. That's a hell of a draw. That's a hell of a match. I don't know why you wouldn't build to that, because you got the history as well.
Well, you can't have that ending in a draw or a time limit or a schmoz, because you don't want the person in the finals to get a bye and win it. So it's got to end one way or the other. So, you know, it's a bit unknown. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But after that, so that was our conversation of the 10-man tag. After that, we get a match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Toni Storm defending against Willow Nightingale. By Toni Storm's side are Ruby Soho and Saraya as the outcasts, though they do get ejected from ringside as part of the match. But Toni Storm still manages to defend the title. I like Willow. I like Toni. This was fine. And to be the only women's match on this card and one of two women's matches on the whole show. To
be fair, to defend Toni, to defend AEW, Stardom had a show the same night. So not much you could do about that. I'm willing to bet that it was supposed to be Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné. That's what the match was going to be, which would have been good. What we got was something that was just, and we've said it probably a few times, it was a Rampage match.
Yeah.
And the only reason that Willow got it is because she was the New Japan strong champion.
It sucks because it could have been Toni versus Julia, which just seems like money.
Well,
it
could have been fucking Toni against what's her name? She was
Kyrie.
in WWE. Kyrie. I don't know why they couldn't have done that.
Toni against Kyrie would have been great.
Was Kyrie on the Stardom show?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, so
I haven't seen the Stardom show at this point. I probably will, because that's my jam.
What you do?
Yeah. But yeah, this wasn't what I wanted it to be. But the next match was...
Hang on. I just want to say I have nothing to add. Except that Saraya and Ruby both did their roles really perfectly. They did a great job outside.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, match after this was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP United States Championship. Kenny Omega defending against Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay winning the match, becoming the new US Heavyweight Champion. Could have done without Don Callis in this one. Could have done without the Armed Forces level security. I think that was a lot of wasted energy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
This match ran 39 minutes, 45 seconds, almost 40 minutes. It was good. It was pretty good.
It was very good. It was a very good match. Like two of the best in the world. Like Will Ospreay is like should be on a major. No, New Japan is a major promotion, so I shouldn't say that. But he should be.
Not according to MJF's robe, it's not.
No, that's true. New Japan is an indie. But like the guy, and this is through the own guy's choice. So this is like his own decision to do it. You should be seeing him on, like, if someone's signed on AEW, all the AEW pay-per-views. if he was signed to WWE, he should be on SummerSlam, all of that. Like, he is of that caliber. He's an amazing worker and just getting better. The fact that over the last couple of years, the size he's put on as well. He looks like he could be a main event guy anywhere, not just like he graduated from that junior heavyweights from New Japan. So it's like a lot of them do. They put on that size and they become. Well, he has done that. He's become more. I can't say the same for and I like Jay White, but Jay White looks like a cruiserweight still.
Jay White's put on some bulk.
No. He hasn't put on bulk. He's cut up. He's skinny as shit when you look at him in the ring. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying he looks like a junior. He just looks like a very well-defined junior. He looks like somebody left Finn Balor in the wash for too long.
Okay.
I like this. I thought this was a good match. Didn't need the screwdriver. Didn't need some of the shenanigans. Agree with you that we didn't need Don Callis completely. Like the two guys who are two of the best in the world wrestle. But a great match that played a lot into the Japan match from earlier in the year. And really, really nicely. It was easily the match of the night. But
I don't think it was as good as their first match.
No, I did just say that. I don't think it was as good as the Japan match. But I really liked that Ospreay won. I really liked that clearly they went out balls and all.
Now, yeah.
Saying that, agree with you entirely about the security squad. What were they doing there? They were wasted. They didn't need it.
In fact, it felt like there was a missed opportunity because what it looked like they were going to do was both of the security guys were bald, had most of their face covered up, and were about the size of Don Callis. And then Don Callis got ejected from ringside. And then later in the match, Don Callis came back in order to hand a screwdriver to Will Ospreay. Why not suddenly have 3 security guards? One hands the screwdriver to Will Ospreay. Somehow it gets revealed that that's why the security guards were there. Don Callis had a disguise so that he could still be there in Will's corner even after he got ejected.
Yeah,
at least then it's there for a reason.
Yeah, but then you're counting on the fact that he knew he was going to get ejected.
I don't think you had to have him know that he's going to get ejected. I think you can have a spare uniform backstage and go, I got ejected. This will get me back in.
Yeah, no, I think there should have been 3 security guards from the beginning, which would have, worked even better. Just 3 guys walking out with Ospreay. You do a whole Ospreay's been getting all kinds of threats over Twitter, blah, 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 blah. He comes out with 3 security guards. The whole thing makes a bit more sense. And one of them happens to be Don Callis, who is quite, he's quite built. So
yeah.
I think that would have been fun.
I think this match suffered for something that I used to say a lot about AEW, especially on their pay-per-views. It went 5 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Like where the finish of the match should have been, they go, and here's more. No, we don't want more. You've done so well. Why would you do this to us? You need the if you get hit the screwdriver in the head with the screwdriver, that should be the finish. You should how many times does a guy have to get killed before? It just makes it harder and harder to sell stuff in the future.
I think
for an instance, right? How does Adam Cole and MJF follow up that time limit draw match now where they threw absolutely fucking everything at each other in the first match? I don't know how they do that because they kicked out of everything. So I don't know how they followed that up in the next match. It's like the law of diminished returns. When you keep hitting people with bigger stuff and bigger stuff and bigger stuff, everything doesn't make any impact anymore because they've seen everything, short of pulling a gun out and shooting someone. I just think it just went 5 minutes too long. That's all. And it was a great match. It was, like you said, it was a match of the night. Will Ospreay is, I know Bryan Danielson was in the main event. I think Will Ospreay is probably 1A best wrestler in the world.
All right. I have a couple of complaints with this match I want to talk about. I've talked about my issue with Don Callis. Don't think it was necessary. I think, and this is piggybacking off what you said, Todd, if Kenny Omega has been stabbed in the head with a screwdriver and then takes a one-winged angel, a finisher that is incredibly protected by him, I don't think he should be kicking out at 1. I understand that it was not Kenny Omega's one-winged angel that got kicked out of, but he had already been stabbed in the head with a screwdriver, right? I think that does some damage. So
it's been known to.
So I think that again, fully agree with you, Todd. 5 minutes too long. I think you have the match end with stab in the head with a screwdriver. He hits a one-winged angel. Maybe Kenny kicks out at 2, and then you go Stormbreaker, Ozcutter, whatever it is, into the finish. But I don't think you need to have Kenny kick out at 1 and then do a big back and forth after that.
No.
Now, my other problem, let's hit that key phrase, Tiger Driver 91, baby! Don't do that! I don't care who you are! Don't do that! That's unnecessary. Don't do it. I hated watching it. I almost turned it off. I do not want to see a man die on my television screen. Please do not do a Tiger Driver 91.
Here's the problem, Mark.
Here's the problem. Or was
sorry,
it just like he was meant to, was it a botch or was he meant to drop him like that?
I think he was meant to drop him exactly like that. I think it was a picture-perfect Tiger Driver 91.
Okay. Because, like, every time I see the Tiger Driver by Tony, it's very safe. It's very flat.
That's the Tiger Driver 97.
Oh,
this is the Tiger Driver 91. I know, like, it sounds really churlish, but I know that there is a difference. And the difference is in that delivery. The problem I have with this is it was just another move. It was just another move in a match full of moves. And it was kicked out of. It was pointless. If you hit that, finish the fucking match. It's the burning hammer. The burning hammer finishes a match. This finished the match. It was fucking ridiculous. And with this many concussions and this many people, like, not being able to recover from that kind of move, don't do it. I agree with you, Lachlan. Don't do it.
I don't think anyone kicked out of Masawa's Driver 91, did they?
No.
Well, because he would have kicked them. He would have killed them if they did.
Yeah. If they did, he would have murdered them. But this is the thing, right? Is if you drop someone on their head, they should not be able to continue wrestling. Right? So at this point, what they are doing with this match is purposely showing that they can go past human limits, and yet these other moves are going to take them down. Right? Yeah. If I know that you can take a Tiger Driver 91 and kick out, why would I ever expect you to not be able to kick out of some dude's finish in another match?
Absolutely. Do you know why? Do you know why I like Bryan Danielson so much? That's the second time I've done it. I like Bryan Danielson so much because a lot of his career in Ring of Honor, he was winning with a small package. He was winning by just grabbing a guy and holding him in.
Yes.
He wasn't doing a Tiger Driver 91 for fuck's sake.
People say he has the best small package in professional wrestling. They call him Mr. Small Package.
Yeah.
I've been called that as well.
Yeah, but that's because of the size of your... Never mind.
But yeah, look, I think we all agree that this was a great match, but there was some things that we didn't like about it. Top among them, safety of the wrestlers involved. And we spoke before about what we think about Katsuyori Shibata taking shots to the head and having a a move like that take place is unnecessary, and I think casts a negative light over professional wrestling, that people are still taking hard shots to the head with everything we know about acquired brain injuries.
But are we done talking about safety of wrestlers? No, I don't think so, because we've got another thing coming up.
No, we will talk about that a little bit further later. But first, we have to have a piss break match. So this is a 6-man tag: Sting, Darby Allin, and Tetsuya Naito defeating Les Suzuki Gods, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki. If I walked into a car dealership and Minoru Suzuki was working there, I think I would buy every car just out of pure fear. The man is so scary, and I love watching him. He did get rolled up, but it is what it is. And I think it was Naito who rolled him up, and those two have wrestled 100-odd times. So I think that's a good way to have the match finish, is the two of them trading a pinfall, because they do all the time anyway. Sting's very old. That's quite noticeable. But somehow Chris Jericho looks worse than he does. So I don't know how that happens. Yeah,
we need to call a search party out for the front of Chris Jericho's hair.
Yeah,
because it's at the point now where he's teasing it up to try and believe me, this is someone who's accepted his fate. And there was a while where the front of mine, if I let mine grow out, it would look like that if I grew it out long. It did not look good. And I'll tell you what, you know how important this match was by the fact that Naito still wore a t-shirt.
Yep.
I appreciate Naito match.
I appreciate all 6 of these men, but it really doesn't take me 15 minutes to piss, so you didn't need to go that long.
Look, I enjoyed the match. I think they're a bit patchy with the whole Sammy and Chris thing bubbling under, because 1 minute Chris and Sammy are working as a well-oiled team and doing their little the sex gods pose, and the next minute they're arguing, saying, I don't want to hit Sting with that move. I'm the boss, go and do it. And then that was another thing. That was one thing that fucking annoyed me, right? They get Sting on a table. He hits him with a 630 off the table, off the top rope, through a table on ringside. Sting was up and in that ring before Sammy was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Coyote.
Hi, Coyote.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think Sammy hit Sting with 10 degrees for every year of Sting's age. That's pretty good. Sting does not need to take a 630 through a table on the outside.
Well, not only that, like Sammy nearly really hurt Sting with that springboard cutter thing that he mistimed off the. Sting had the Scorpion Deathlock on, I think it was Jericho.
Yeah,
and
he did.
Thing came off with it and just hit him right on the back of the head. It looked like it could have been something. Just the way Sting sold that on the ground. That was a real sell. That wasn't a I'm wrestling sell.
Again, this and this will get me in trouble, but this could have been a pre-show match. This didn't need to be on the main card. What a wonderful way to get the crowd going.
No, I think that would have been a good opener. Would have been a great opener. But where it was placed was a sorbet. It was a sorbet to cleanse the palate between Omega and Ospreay, and then
that's definitely what it was
supposed to be.
And I also think you cannot put Naito and Suzuki on the pre-show of Forbidden Door.
No, that's true.
They are too big for that.
No,
that's true. That's a fair point. I just felt that it was. Yeah, it was fine. Like you, Lachlan, though, I want them to resolve either piss or get off the pot with this storyline of Sammy against Jericho. Are they mates? Are they feuding? What the fuck's going on there? Because I'm getting tired of it. It's making the crowd exhausted on whether to cheer or boo Sammy. Sammy is beginning to get cheers, which is amazing because he's so unlikable.
He's so unlikable.
In so many facets. He's beginning to get cheers. You know, let's go. Let's actually make him a baby face. Let's do it. because he's gonna have a kid soon, and the crowd are gonna be happy about that. So
But that's what they have the tendency to do. They tend to overcook all of their stuff.
Oh yeah,
They either go really early or they overcook the shit out of it. Like I think the Jack Perry thing, very early.
Too early.
They could have worked a little bit of stuff. Sammy, I think they're just going to stretch it out till when he turns, no one really going to give a shit.
Yeah.
Yep,
unfortunately.
absolutely. But I think a big part of when they do these shows is you've got a whole lot of people showing up, flying to Canada on the promise of they're going to get to see Sting and Minoru Suzuki and Tetsuya Naito and Chris Jericho, and they can cross that off their bucket list. Right? Like that is a big part of the appeal of these shows. The match doesn't have to be great, but you need to have these guys in a prominent position on the card. And I think that the match did what it was supposed to do, which is exactly what James Cray said in the chat. It did the job required of it.
Yeah. I mean, these shows are the epitome of fitting like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Like they're trying to give you everything they possibly can on the match. So they'll throw, and look, honestly, it's very much like a standard New Japan show where you'll see 3 or 4 5-man or 10-man tags on a show.
Well, it's a standard New Japan show and it's a standard AEW show because they also put 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Really? The word shit is not meant to be derogatory. It's the same. No. It's the
10
same.
pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah, exactly. 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Whether that stuff is good or bad, your mileage may independently vary on each match. Now, my mileage on this match was, it was fine. But as we've discussed off there, I've been a bit crook. So it had to be really, really good to follow what I'd just seen. And I was also a bit crabby because, ankle's fucked. So there you go.
Update. Sorry, Bryan Danielson is officially the best wrestler in the world. It says here. That's what it says in my write-up. Because he beat Kazuchika Okada in the main event with a double arm crank.
Well, he had to because he couldn't do the other one properly because he
I feel like we're all a bit apprehensive to talk about this match. So here's what I'll say. I thought the majority of this match was very good. I like a match that ends in a long submission hold because it means that long submission holds matter, right? And especially when you've got two wrestlers like this who are professional wrestlers, the goal of the match is not going to be to knock them silly with one big move because these guys are both too good for that. Yes, you want to hit a psycho knee. Yes, you want to hit a Rainmaker, but that's not going to be the thing that wins you the match. What wins you the match is out wrestling your opponent. Love that.
Yeah, right. But I would like to have known if that's what the finish was before Bryan broke his arm.
Because here's where we get into the big bit. Daniel Bryan's
where he's just like, it got to a point where he's just like, fuck, I can't do what we have coming up. I just can't do it. So let's fucking cut this shit out and just go to the finish. Or we're going to go to the finish now.
D. James Fortescue in the chat says the entrance pops were epic. Kazuchika's coin drop made people lose their minds. Dream entrance reaction. On top of that, the return of the final countdown for Daniel Bryan seems to be a one-off. He's not going to have that long-term because that stuff costs money. But was here for tonight.
A fucking shitload of money. Like, and this was like a bit of backstory. This was Jesus. Probably 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago. I interviewed Adam Pearce when he came down to wrestle with Riot City Wrestling. When Adam Pearce was booking Ring of Honor was when Bryan Danielson was in Ring of Honor. So they tried to get, and at the time, Bryan Danielson was the Ring of Honor champion. So they wanted to get Final Countdown for their TV shows. And I'm just, this is a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it was something like $50,000 every time that song played. Because I remember the quote that Adam Pearce said, because $50,000, the guy's our champion, which means that that song can be played twice. They can tick that, they can fuck that off. Like, we're not paying that much money for that. Now, I can't imagine how much more that might have gone up over 8 years, or however long ago that was from Ring of Honor, whereas Europe have decided that they want to charge now. But when you got money to burn like Mr. Khan does, that's fine. And if it was a one-off thing, that's fine too.
Ree in
But
the
I
chat
think Tony
saying
said-
Adam Pearce is so great, could listen to him forever. Thanks for joining us, Ree.
Yes,
Hey,
I
Rick.
agree. I loved, it's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, was the 2 interviews we did with Adam. But it was just like that whole thing with his entrance, and that was great for a good like nostalgic throwback of his entrance. But then he was supposed to be the heel in that match too. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll throw another thing in at this point before we get too deep into it. Commentary tonight, I want to give a big thumbs up to. I think that Taz was fantastic on this show. Taz just completely showed on this show that he is one of the best color commentators in the game. He really made things feel important. I think Excalibur might be the best commentator in the world, bar none. The way he explained what was going on, called moves, brought up history, and then also made really insightful calls as to what was going on, predicted the way wrestlers typically do things, and noted the ways that they differed from those. The man's an encyclopedia, but he's an encyclopedia that expresses everything that's happening at the time.
As you
love it.
As you brought this up, I just want to mention one brief interaction, and this goes back to the 10-man tag, and I'm sorry to go back, but Kevin Kelly said to Excalibur, why doesn't Eddie Kingston like Claudio Castagnoli? And in 30 seconds, Excalibur managed to tell their whole story like that. And it was brilliant. That is why Excalibur is great. That is why Kevin Kelly is great, because it just gave you their history without having to go back and watch years of Shikara, etc., etc. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was great.
But I also think that like those two together, Excalibur and Taz, are really fucking good because you can tell they get along. I think what ruins AEW commentary a lot of the times is fucking Tony Schiavone. I don't know why he's there.
I like Tony Schiavone a lot. I don't need Tony Schiavone as much as it's very upsetting the reason why JR is not on commentary at the moment. I really do not miss JR on commentary. Right?
No,
I don't mind JR. I don't mind JR. JR plays that cranky old man role. Whereas I like JR because JR will be contrarian every now and then. Whereas Tony for me is too fucking pom-poms. This is amazing. This is great. Oh my God.
If you guys don't mind, I'm just going to talk about this main event for a minute.
Oh, yeah, you can do that if you want. Yeah.
Please do
if you don't mind. Firstly,
go for it.
I agree. A beautiful match. Just so well put together. And like they really, yeah, of course he is right. They really had a great flow. You could see that they admired each other in the way they were working together. Brian played a heel so subtly. Kazuchika Okada is beautiful to watch. Probably the best drop kick at the moment. But Brian broke his arm. Bryan Danielson broke his fucking arm. Stop the match. Right there, right then, stop the match. Go for a small package. Do the thing that Austin did. I do not want to watch someone wrestling with a broken arm. I don't want to watch it.
Like, at the time, he didn't know it was broken. And even afterwards, the first diagnosis was it was fractured until they got the actual x-rays. They said it looks like a fracture. So I will say, like, I've known people to play games of rugby with a broken arm and not really know they've done it. They've done something. Oh, fuck, I've done something with my fucking arm. But because you've got the adrenaline going, you've got all of that sort of thing, you don't know how bad that is until after you get the actual x-ray. And like Bree put the x-rays up on thing, and it's a pretty bad break
on Twitter.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's a rough break. So I'm not going to go too hard on that because if I know Bryan Danielson, he would have been the one telling him to fuck off on finishing this match.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go too hard on them on that. And like being a smart worker, he used it to tell a story in that match. Like he said, I can't use it, so I'm going to incorporated into the match somehow, which is again why he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Again, I would like to have known what much longer this match was supposed to go to what it was. But if anything, it might have helped them. They might have overstayed their welcome. Do you know what I mean?
I do think the match was the right length. It was a 27, 28-minute match, right?
Oh, it was perfect.
Which is the right length.
I'm not saying that, but my worry is you've got a young worker somewhere in Australia or America who fucks up something in his body and insists on finishing the match because he saw Bryan Danielson do it. 2 months ago, we had Mitch Waterman finish a match with a broken leg. I think we need to get our priorities right. And the priority is the safety of these people. Beyond anything else, we want to see these people safe. We want to see them go home to their loved ones. We want to see them happy and healthy and wise. Now, whether they choose to finish the match or not, let's draw the fucking line. Let's stop people when they've obviously injured themselves, whether it's a fracture or a break, Todd. It makes no difference. It's time we just went, okay, yeah, we want to entertain people, but no one's going to be disappointed. No one's going to be disappointed. And everyone's going to be like, okay, the guy is injured, but we got to the end. We got there, and he's safe. He's as safe as he can be.
Mate, look, I'm just going to say this, right? Probably
I know I've got an idealistic point of view, mate. I know.
Yeah, you really do. But it's fine. That's what we love about you. About 8 years ago, there was a main event in Riot City Wrestling. It was a guy called Johnny Barnes was against Matt Grimbasso. Now, through an innocuous move, I think it was like he used to put somebody over the second rope and then jump over the top rope and do the Randy Savage sort of hangman thing, right?
Yep.
Now, Johnny did that, and when he landed, tore his ACL on the outside. And Matt knew it was fucked straight away because the guy couldn't get up and move properly. Johnny kept insisting on going on with this match until the point where there was something where he tried to charge Matty into the corner, and you can't run with I know for a fact you can't run with an ACL.
You can't run with a torn ACL.
So Matty literally had to take him down and pin him for that match to be over. Some people are just wired differently. It was a stomp on the apron. Thank you, James. Some people are just wired differently. Some people are just fucking warriors.
Yeah.
And you know
I guess, look, I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree with you, but I just think we need to have people's safety first and foremost. I mean, if you remember, and we don't need to take it to an extreme. If you remember Bret Hart when he was about to beat Ric Flair for the world title, popped a finger out and actually popped it back in. And there's a wonderful shot of Kurt Hennig going, ooh, as it's happening.
Do you know what the difference? Do you know what the difference is, right? Like, if this is a concussion, if this is you are knocked out and then you come to again, I completely agree with you. Stop the match. Call it.
Yeah.
If you've got a torn ACL, a broken arm, it's something else like that, you're not going to do any more to it. You've fucking broken it. It's broken.
Good point.
Go to a logical finish if you can.
I guess in some ways I'm saying this from the perspective of I saw what Cody Rhodes did last year and I never want to see that again. So that's where I'm
But he was also told, like I'm saying to you now, he was told by the doctors, you're not going to fucking tear it anymore. If you can put up with the pain, then that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
That's your, for instance, and this is nowhere near what we're talking about here. My match with Pro League, that was a couple of weeks ago. I found out, I think it was the week before, that I'd been having pins and needles in my index finger and my thumb. And of course you start worrying a little bit about it. My doctors said, well, look, it's a degenerative thing. You're not going to do any damage to it. So you're fine. Keep going with it. Even though it was that I hadn't lost any strength from it, it's still something where, going by what you're saying, that you would say, no, the match isn't off, you've got an injury. It's just
Ree
not what I'm
saying
saying.
Todd found out he's old, basically. Ree, that's not correct. The fact that
He
he's
found
old
out he
had
was old
nothing
when he
to
was
do with
60.
it. He's just awful. That's the thing.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying cancel that match. I'm not. I'm not saying cancel a match if somebody is aware of their condition. I'm saying in the middle of a match, if somebody breaks an arm, fucks up a leg, really, really hurts themselves badly, because you don't know the nature of it, continuing is dangerous. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but like,
I mean, I get
for
what you're
this-
saying. I get
Yeah.
what you're saying. The other thing I didn't want to see, and Todd, you said this before we came on air, is Daniel Bryan doing a seizure, and I'm putting that in inverted commas
yeah, that's the only thing that I really didn't like.
because
Is
it
that
wasn't
was, and I don't know if that was all he could think of to try and save him some time while he was trying to work out what happened to his arm,
Mm.
or if that was a planned spot. If it was a planned spot, I really didn't like, and I'm really surprised that more people haven't like brought this spot up as a point of conjecture, because no one really has that I've seen. Everyone's like, oh, it was a great match, it was fine, it's like that. I think that if this was done in another promotion with 3 different initiatives, we'd be hearing a lot more about it.
Yep, absolutely.
But
I would agree with you.
But it was an amazing match. It was an amazing match. I would have liked to see what could have happened if they went through it completely healthy, how much more they would have done. If they, like I said before, if they'd outstayed their welcome, or if they'd have just gone home not long after what was planned, what happened. It'd just be interesting to know.
I think
I want to throw in, sorry, I saw a match in Melbourne a few years ago in which the main event of the show, a clothesline just went wrong. Just a little clothesline. Bloke went down, had a seizure. Really scary, really nasty. That was the end of the show. Like, it's not something little. It's dangerous. And Randy in the chat throwing in, hi gents, I'm late to the party, but you're so right on this spot. In the last 12 months, I've seen 3 different athletes in 3 different points collapse in seizures. It's not fun. It's always terrifying. Doesn't belong in wrestling. Absolutely agree, Randy. I was very uncomfortable with that bit.
I think that there needs to not be those kinds of spots. It's the same as people throwing up the X when someone's not injured and the commentator's doing the serious voice. I don't want to see that anymore either, because I think that someone's injured. We take it seriously. Like, as fans, I take it seriously when someone is actually injured, and when someone's not, crying wolf is not cool.
The problem is that code got out, and as soon as that code got out, being wrestlers and being carnies as we all are, we can exploit that.
Yeah. I just think it's important to note that there's a difference between, we talk about this idea of willing suspension of disbelief when you look at different forms of media. That idea of what are you willing to pretend is real and make yourself believe. And in wrestling, there's a lot that comes with that willing suspension of disbelief. There's a lot of it. And we put aside how much we know isn't actually going on to immerse ourselves in these stories all the time. And I think for a lot of it, the well-being of the people who really give up a lot to tell us those stories is really important to us. And that takes precedence over being that idea of being fooled. I don't need to be fooled. I'm going to pretend to believe whatever you do, right? You don't need to fool me. I'm buying in. So when someone goes out of their way to fool me into having a visceral reaction because I genuinely care about the safety of another human being, that it feels awkward to me. I don't like it.
I also think that
I think there are different types of visceral reactions that we should be going for.
Yes,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely, mate. And from my perspective, I think that a lot of these people are husbands, fathers, have lives outside of wrestling. And I might not have said it properly, but I just want them to be safe. I want them to look after themselves. I don't want them to further an injury. Now, sure, you can't tear a pec anymore. You can't break an arm anymore. It's already broken. Whether you agree or not, though, seeing someone physically try and keep their arm safe in the ring tells me I can stop the match. Stop the match.
Yeah,
Let him
but
put it
to be fair, we didn't know if that was part of the match. For all we know, he could just be selling.
Sorry, I could tell it wasn't straight away.
Okay, Dr. Jeff, but like for all we know, he could have just been fucking selling.
True. Yeah.
And that could have been the story of the match. How can he put a submission on with an arm that's gone?
Yeah.
And the fact that that's the story that went on made it a good match there, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. I look, I wasn't as offended by that as I was by Tiger Driver 91, but I still you know, we our opinions will differ. Like that's the beauty of our conversations.
I think overall, it's what we've kind of brought up over the course of this Forbidden Door conversation is that there were a lot of things that we very specifically did not like and had quite strong reactions to the things that we didn't like. But it shows how strong this show was as a whole that we're able to pick those things out and then still go. And besides that, it was a great match, right?
Great show.
Yeah,
great show.
Really, really impressed by, especially after I think Forbidden Door last year was a bit disappointing. I think this was really entertaining.
Yeah. And if you want to listen to our great shows, go ahead, Lachlan. There's your segue.
If you want to listen to our really great shows, despite the bit that you hate, come on over, twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia. Hit follow if you want to get notified every time we go live. Hit subscribe so you can support what we do. You can find our podcast on every podcast platform. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, wherever you get it. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give us a 5-star review while you're there because it helps us get into more ears. We're going to keep talking about other stuff now that we've done that bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
Great.
I thought look, all up, I thought Forbidden Door was great. And I know I'm going to watch it again over the weekend and really enjoy it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Look, I think maybe we skipped the whole Gold Rush stuff because, it was a match.
No one cares. The gist is no titles changed hands and Creed Brothers versus Dyad's going to be loser leaves NXT.
I mean, you can say no one cares, but the ratings for that show have been going up and up every week.
It's been getting quite
They're starting to care. When they do.
Yeah. Really quickly, we've got the G1 blocks. Let's talk about that. We got 4 blocks this year. This year is absolutely huge, like to a ridiculous point. A block has Kaito Kiyomiya, Gabe Kidd, Yota Tsuji, Shota Umino, Ren Narita, Hikuleo, Chase Owens, and the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Sonata. B block has El Phantasmo, Tonga Loa, Will Ospreay, Great-O-Khan, Kenta, Taichi, Yoshihashi, and Kazuchika Okada. C block has Mikey Nichols, Eddie Kingston, Aaron Hanare, Shingo Takagi, Tamatonga, Evil, Tomohiro Ishii, and David Finlay. And Block D has Alex Coughlin, Shane Haste, Jeff Cobb, Toru Yano, Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroki Goto, Tetsuya Naito, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Wow.
Yeah.
I think originally Bryan Danielson was somewhat slated to be in there too, from what I heard. I think he'd mentioned it on the post-match presser, the post-show presser. So he's like, he didn't think he'd be able to make G1 now because of his arm. So
it's going to be nuts.
So who knows? Yeah.
We've got James Cray thinking Block A will be the block to watch. Definitely with guys like Shota Umino, Ren Narita, Sonata. I think that's going to be extremely exciting. For me, Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste both being in is obviously extremely exciting. I think that for me, it's D block. I love Jeff Cobb. Toru Yano's always fun in the G1. I love watching ZSJ. Obviously, Naito and Tanahashi are the big names there. I think that's going to be huge. I think seeing Eddie Kingston perform in the G1, I have to imagine if there's something that forced Danielson out of the G1, Kingston has taken his place. I am very excited to see what kind of stories Kingston tells in that format, and we're getting Kingston versus Ishii. Like, it's big if true.
I think that the interesting thing is we're going to see combined blocks on each night. So I don't think there's going to be quite as many multi-man tags, but I think people will be able to spread out their appearances, which is almost better. It will keep the wrestlers healthier. There's that word again, and it's gonna be a really, really fun G1. Like, I've resubscribed to New Japan World so I can just watch it all, sit at home, with my with my foot up, and just enjoy watching Eddie Kingston chop the fuck out of people.
Yeah, Randy's made an interesting point, not loving the expanded G1 because there's a lot of names who don't seem like they're relevant to potentially getting a Wrestle Kingdom main event. Like, are we going to see Tonga Loa win the whole thing? No, I don't think so. But I think in any big event, you need people who maybe aren't going to win. And when you've got 32 wrestlers, I think that, sure, some of them we can kind of write off. But
yeah, let's face it, every Royal Rumble, there's only fucking like 5 guys that you could see winning that thing to go to the WrestleMania.
Well, I don't think Yano's going to win it, but, I think that he provides something. Don't know what it is.
Are you going to enjoy watching Naito versus Yano? I am.
Yeah, it's fine. It plays
it's also things where you've got because you've got like a Carter or like Sonata in those things. If somebody during a pool thing can pull off a win over a Sonata, just a fluke win because it's through the tournament, that gives them a chance to have a match down the line for the title without having to go through all this other stuff. It's a good way to set up other things.
And
Absolutely.
Jeff gets to watch Ishii wrestle half a dozen times and has a great month because the G1, the MVP of the G1 is always Tomohiro Ishii. There's no one else who he just has the most incredible.
Oh, Yano, maybe. No, I love the G1. This is such an exciting way that they're putting it forward. We've got a couple of updates for the Money in the Bank card. First off, an Intercontinental Championship match. Gunther defending against Matt Riddle.
They fought a lot in WXW. They fought a lot in Progress. Their matches are always good. Well. This will be,
and they've also got a decent storyline going into it. They've had a fair amount of interaction over the TV. So
yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match has been added to the card. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will challenge Shayna Baszler and the worst woman in the world. Sorry, the baddest woman on the planet, Ronda Rousey.
Rumor is that Rousey is going to NXT, so get the belts off those two and let Liv and Raquel have them.
No. She's going to NXT because they're going to defend the titles on NXT.
Yeah.
From what I've heard this morning on, I can't remember what House of Wrestling with Nick Hausman, they're talking about doing stuff now where they're going to send, because the Seth Rollins thing worked so well with Bron Breakker, because apparently that quarter hour of Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker outrated anything on Dynamite for the last, I think it was like 3 months. That quarter hour. So
it was a good match too.
It's something where Nick Khan is seeing that and go, okay, if we keep sending guys back to do these things, then that's going to help boost the ratings, which also helps when they come to renegotiate TV rights. And also, Randy said shout out to Brooksy being announced for the Noah's N1 tournament as well, which is great.
Yes. Yeah, let's go, buddy. Speaking of big Aussie announcements, we'll get to that in a second. First off, we have got an NJPW Strong Women's Championship match announced for NJPW Independence Day on July 5th. Willow Nightingale's going to defend against Julia. So congratulations
now we know how long
to Julia.
Now we know how long her title reign went for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But, I still think it's going to be good. Now, moving on, we've got this big Impact show coming to Wagga Wagga. The Australian Showcase has been announced. So this is a show on the Sunday night. I believe if you've got tickets to the Friday and the Saturday... Sunday afternoon. I believe if you've got Friday/Saturday tickets, this is included or something along those lines.
Yes.
Yes.
We've got 8 matches announced here. Almost all of them bangers, I'll say. First off, we've got Luke Watts versus Matt Hayter. I don't know if Luke Watts is super well known outside of Canberra. We have watched and reviewed, I think, one of Luke Watts' matches here on the stream, and we're very impressed. And obviously, Hayter is just one of the best in the country, so that's going to be awesome. We've got Kingsley versus Lena Cross. I think that's going to be really good. Kingsley has such a great character, and Lena is so violent in the ring. I think they're going to match up really well. Anth Carver versus Sid Parker. I'm a big Sid fan. Carver's right there having all of the skills. I think that one's going to be great. We've got Aisha versus Frankie B. Frankie, obviously, very strong in the character department. Aisha is... I can't say enough good things about Aisha. I think she's fantastic. There's going to be Ricky South versus Jimmy Townsend, which feels like... I feel like Ricky really will want to get a great match out of Jimmy, and Jimmy's going to want to prove himself there. We've got Mick Moretti versus Jack Bonza. So if you haven't seen that match before 8 times, you've got a chance to see it. It's always a good time, isn't it? Erica Reed versus Xena should be a ton of fun. Erica always does something a bit interesting. And then the big one that I'm excited to see, the Parea are going to challenge Top Tier for the OPW Tag Team Championship. Throw up your tees, baby boys. We obviously love the Parea here. Excellent workers. We compliment them every time we see them on a show. But Todd, do you want to talk about Mitch and Tim just quickly?
I'm so proud they get a chance to show what they can do, because 2 guys that have worked their fucking asses off for the last 2 years. They've been to Farley. They've worked everywhere. They've worked as many places as they can get booked in. They will work it. They've worked their asses off. They 2 of the head trainers up here at 3 Count Pro Wrestling. They're putting back into the Queensland scene. They've been without a doubt head and shoulders 2 of the best workers in Queensland wrestling for the last year or so. I'm exceedingly proud of these dudes. They worked the NWA tour with the La Rebellion in matches for there. They've worked both of them individually. Have worked Rampage this year. They've just worked their asses off. And Mitch flying himself over to Japan to do a mini tour over there. None of the big tours, but enough that really got his name out there when it came to Japan. Tagged with Jag in a show as well. I'm so fucking proud of those 2. It's going to be a great match, and I'm hoping that people will finally see what I've kind of known for the last couple of years, that these 2 are legit.
Oh yeah, I can speak to them as exclusively a fan for a moment, and I know that there's a lot of people we've talked about before, and guys like Anth Carver in Melbourne. That scene gets talked about a lot. So even if you are a guy in a spot like Carver, you show up when we do MCW reviews, right? But I feel like the Brisbane scene and the Queensland scene for a long time has not had the eyes on it. And these 2 guys, James Cray exactly says that he feels like Queensland probably has a fair amount of hidden gems. These guys are unreal. I've watched Tim Hayden in some absolutely atrocious gimmicks, working his ass off for years. I have watched Mitch Ryder since he was in the pink tights, being the little tag team boy in Todd's stable. And boy, they just work and work and work until they are the best in the building. And then they keep working to be better than each other. Unbelievable talent. And not only that, 2 of the nicest guys in the world. I really hope everyone sees how fucking good they are.
Yeah, that's why it's like it has been an absolute pleasure working with them for the last couple of years, because they're guys that there's zero ego with them. There's all they want to do is learn. They're like eyes open, ears open, and learn. And they will ask questions, and they're open to suggestions. And they're not just always like, "This is my way. This is what's it." Okay, why? Like what? My favorite thing is when somebody says why.
Yep.
Because then
And
that's how you learn.
I'll specifically shout out, especially because there's a couple of guys, but Mitch Ryder, and unfortunately we've just lost Solomon Blackwell over to Perth, but they would ask me after matches what I thought and what spots did you like, and just because they know I'm there watching every time and they want to know what works, what doesn't, from the perspective of someone who doesn't know what it's like to be in the ring, who isn't there at the training sessions. They want to know. They want to improve every time. It's just unreal how much they put into it and how visible it is that they put that work in when they get in the ring. Because they,
and I think without trying to give too much kudos, Todd, it's clear that you've brought them a long way yourself. It's clear that you've worked with them really hard. So, mate, well done. Seriously, well done. I know you don't like compliments, so I'll call you an asshole again, but well done, mate.
Look, it's a fact that they've had the talent. They just needed someone to, like in some cases, they needed someone to nurture them, because a lot of the times when people, like there are people that are just assholes behind the scenes, and they'll do this to like bash people's confidence. So some need that like reassurance. Like, don't listen to that because they're fucking wrong. You're a talented kid. You've just got to, if you keep working hard and you keep doing it, cream rises to the top. Yeah. That's what I said to Bob. Like I constantly make the joke to Bobby that don't Bobby this up. Cream rises to the top. If you keep fucking working, you'll become, this to the point now where that he's made that his fucking, like his ring nickname is undeniable. So it's like, if you become good, if you work hard as you can to be as good as you can, there will be a point where you are undeniable. And they can't stop you because everyone fucking sees it. It's undeniable you're one of the best in the state.
I think it's also worth mentioning, if you haven't heard yet, sadly, Conrad Thompson is unable to be at the shows this weekend. If you do have money for them, for that show, then message Oceania Pro Wrestling if you haven't already heard from them. And I'm sure they'll organise a refund in short order. To the crew at Oceania Pro Wrestling, to Cam Vale and his entire team, good luck this weekend, mate. I hope it goes really, really well.
Fingers crossed for you guys that you have an awesome show in Wagga. Quickly, just going to give a big old middle finger to D. James Fortescue for bragging about being able to see Solomon Blackwell regularly. Some of us have to wait till August 26th, Project Revolution 4 at the Kedron Wavell Services Club. You can get your tickets now. That is going to be an absolutely massive show. There's been one match announced so far, and it is a triple threat for the PWL Heavyweight Championship match that's going to be defended by Mitch Ryder against the young upstart Outback Adam and the wily veteran AJ Istria. Going to be a huge match there. That's going to be a massive show. Also up here in Queensland, we've got Wide Bay Death by Social Media on July 22nd. So you'll also want to jump on Wide Bay's Facebook and Instagram pages so that you're able to vote for what matches are going to be there, what stipulations are going to be there, because it's the old Cyber Sunday Taboo Tuesday gimmick, baby.
Yes. I'll give you a little thing right now. The main event will be Tim Hayden defending the Wide Bay Pro Championship against Rip Riley. There'll be three options coming up to what those matches could be. I think like one's like a Monsters Ball match. I can't remember what the other one, and one was Top Tier being banned from ringside. I can't remember what the third one was, but they're all going to be up on, I think it's the Instagram stories and also Facebook for people to vote for what they want for the, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll run through a couple of the Melbourne shows coming up as well, so then Jeff can mention what he was hinting towards last show. On the 8th of July, MCW Ballroom Brawl is sold out. It's going to be on Fight TV on the 15th of July. We've talked about this one a bunch. You got Parea versus the Velocities, Jimmy Townsend versus Nick Armstrong for a second chance draw. MCW Women's Championship, Delta versus Jarvis. Heavyweight Championship, Tommy Knight versus Buddy Matthews, and the Ballroom Brawl match. Massive. 1st of July, there's a PCW show, Carnage. That's got a hardcore match for the national championship. Tommy Hellfire versus Wake. The Ignition Championship's on the line with JJ Furno versus James Burton and Barry O'Leary. The PCW Tag Championship's going to be True Champions versus Big Dude Energy. There's going to be Crackerjack versus James Sly Silver, Robbie Thorpe versus Jake Taylor, and Trent versus Tricky. We got Wrestle Rock on Friday, August 11th. That one's had its first announcement with Jake Andrew Arthur versus Funtime Phil. That's going to be a delight there. Jeff, did you mention last... Sorry?
You did like that was like almost a what's his name impersonation then? What's his name? AEW announcer?
Excalibur.
Yeah, it was like
Excalibur.
It's my Excalibur flow of consciousness that I'm letting out. Good stuff. Jeff, last show you mentioned that Renegades might have an announcement coming up. Like, did they make an announcement?
Yeah, I don't know. They said something about an American independent crew. Guys, Renegades x GCW, Renegades versus GCW. It's all taking place on the weekend of August 25, 26 and 27. Tickets are on sale from Thursday, 30th of June at 10 a.m. That is this Thursday. If you're listening to us on the podcast and it's tomorrow, meaning Wednesday, it's tomorrow. It's the day after. If you're listening to us on Thursday, too late, you might have missed out. 30th of June, 10 a.m. Yes, I fucked that up, Todd. Stop laughing at me. And the dates are as follows. On Friday, August 25th, they are at the New South Wales Roundhouse. On Saturday, August 26th, here at the Melbourne Pavilion. And on Sunday, August 27th, Brisbane Eaton's Hill Hotel. You are all going to get to see Renegades of Wrestling versus GCW. GCW are bringing Maki Ito. It's going to be worth seeing that alone.
They're bringing Maki Ito and Vikingo. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right. It's going to be a great time. I tried to get a match announcement for tonight, but they're not saying anything. They are coming very, very soon. It's going to be a great weekend of wrestling.
Randy wants Maki Ito versus Crackerjack. I want to see that.
Support these guys, support Renegades. They are a newer group, but they do a great job, and obviously we're all excited about GCW's first time in Australia.
I'll slam out those dates again. Friday, August 25th in the New South Wales Roundhouse. Saturday, August 26th in the Melbourne Pavilion. And Sunday, August 27th at Eaton's Hill Hotel in Brisbane. That's right. If you're in Brisbane, we've got Project Revolution 4 on the Saturday and GCW versus Renegades on the Sunday. That is going to be just the best week of wrestling. I'm so excited for it already. I'm counting down. I cannot wait. And you know what? If you can't wait to hear from us anymore, you should jump onto the social media. Follow at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram, Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook. You can follow us. We've each got our own social media, at Beast Eastman for Todd, at Jeff_Seti for Jeff, at Lachlan Albert for me. You can also follow Jeff at Wrestle_Brainia. You'll see right there.
Now, I might have a couple of things to say very, very soon about WrestleBrania. Sydney, hope you're going to be listening. Perlequin, you were asking earlier in the year when we're coming to Sydney. Listen in. Also, there's a couple of things we're going to be doing with some games later. Speaking of games, Lachlan, you've got a few there. Maybe next week.
I do. I got a lovely shelf. So I think, Jeff, you and I might have to do a little secret exclusive trial on the Wrestle Radio Australia feed of having a chat about some games, doing a bit of games podcast.
Yeah, board game podcast sounds nice. Let's talk about that.
Sounds like a great idea.
We're going to be doing some WrestleBrania stuff very, very soon.
Randy giving a quick shout out to PWA going on Fight Plus. The $15 he saved on Saturday bought a pizza. Good on you, Randy.
And Ree is just saying, here is the spoiler for WrestleBrania. I am the new host. Ree, bring it. You're welcome to be the new host. You can wrangle the chaos one time, and I'll sit in the audience.
I can't even get you on here to talk, Ree. What are you doing? And you don't even have to leave your house.
But look, if you don't want to leave your house, you can get plenty of content by subscribing to Wrestle Radio Australia. It's free. You can do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts from. If it's Apple Podcasts, please do leave us a 5-star review. It gets us into more ears. And you can get our merch by going on over to Redbubble, searching for Wrestle Radio Australia. I did that myself to get my Wrestle Radio Australia shirt, especially because I know that the money doesn't go into Todd's pocket. It goes to 2 great charities, Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, supporting men's mental health here in Australia. Todd, Jeff, is there anything else we need to cover, or has my Excalibur impression gotten it all?
I think you've gotten it all beautifully. Again, if you're going up, if you're going to Wagga, if you're going up to Wagga, going down to Wagga, going across to Wagga, enjoy the weekend. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Ree wants to mention one thing in the chat. Yes, Ree, you can.
And this is a great reminder that if you come on over to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia, you get to contribute to the chat. You get us to listen to you, to say what you are saying, even if it's this.
Oh, before we go, should we quickly do a chicken shit and chicken salad each for the week?
Oh, that's pretty important. That's kind of what the show's called, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Chicken shit. Tiger Driver 91.
Yeah. Wrestling with a broken arm, the amount of injuries coming out of Forbidden Door essentially is.
Okay. AEW production team. Y'all have got one job in an Okada match, and that is to be ready when he goes like that.
Ready to zoom out.
How the fuck do you miss that? But you did. You really did. So, well done, boys. And WWE does not suck again. Randy, please stop listening to fucking people saying Vince is taken over again. Vince is like that fucking show this week had some really good fucking matches on it. Raw had some really good matches on it. And if you think being in the Money in the Bank, watching fucking like Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa against the Usos, furthering on that feud sucks, then keep listening to Dave. Keep listening to Uncle Dave, because that's...
We got to see Ricochet versus Shinsuke on TV.
Yes.
And they got a decent amount of time. Got about 13 minutes. My chicken salad.
Just quickly, because we do have a chicken shit from Ree in the chat, and it's that MCW and PWA are no longer live streaming. They are on delay. And while I agree that sucks, man, being able to have them on Fight Plus for that $15 subscription.
PWA was live last week, wasn't it?
It was live, but part of your PWA subscription. So I think it's almost better. Wasn't PWA live?
PWA was live last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. MCW.
It's called out, Ray.
Yeah.
MCW is now delayed.
Yeah.
Let's do our chicken salads and then send this puppy home.
Yeah, Ray, you couldn't buy it because you have to subscribe to Fight Plus. If you subscribe to Fight Plus, you get it for free. It's part of the subscription. So you get MCW, you get PWA, you get GCW, all as a part of that subscription service. So it was live last week. You just missed it because you couldn't work out the internet.
Brutal.
I'd like you to remember I live in the same city as you, and I didn't say that.
I'm a heel. I'm such a heel. I'm off.
All right. I'm just quickly going to say that my chicken salad.
Everyone. It's a hat.
Yes.
My chicken salad is the same as Randy's in the chat. The GCW Renegades announcement has me so unbelievably excited. Like, I know there was a lot of good stuff to talk about on Forbidden Door. It'd be really easy to put one of those as my chicken salad, but I am so excited for this tour. And honestly, the top tier announcement for the Impact Showcase, that's got to be chicken salad for me. I love Aussie wrestling getting put to the forefront. And as much as Forbidden Door was fun, the thing I love is Aussie wrestling. I've got to put that as my chicken salad.
I have to admit to the stream, and you guys wouldn't even know this if I didn't admit to it. I complained to these two this week because I saw some of the lineup that I announced for the Impact part, and I didn't realize that this wasn't part of the Australian showcase. I thought it was, and it was like there's like Brooksy and the Velocities and Robbie Eagles and Slex, and I had a little bit of a rant where I was like, these are guys that have already had their showcase. They didn't need their showcase. And I was wrong because, like, look at all the guys, aside from, like, Bonza and Moretti, who, let's face it, you can still say need a little bit of a showcase. Everybody who they've put on that
is up and coming.
Needs to be showcased. My chicken salad, of course, is Mitch Ryder and Tim Hayden getting a shot at this Australian showcase to show that Queensland, how far Queensland wrestling has come. And it's I'm so proud of them. So that's my chicken salad.
My chicken salad has two parts. One is I agree with everything you've both said, both the GCW and like GCW and Renegades was going to be mine. And then when you announced it, I was like, well, I'll move to the Australian Showcase because they're showcasing a lot of really good people. And you've just taken that. So I'm going to go to something on YouTube. Right now, we're about 25 years since that Hell in a Cell match. And they've got Mick Foley and Mark Calloway sitting down together and watching and talking about the match. I never want to watch that match again. It puts me through extreme pain, as you can imagine, from everything that I've said tonight. But watching the two of them laughing and talking about the match and being the friends that they are was freaking wonderful. And it's a lovely watch. It's about 15 minutes long. And they talk about one thing that Terry Funk said, and if you don't mind, I'll just say it. And Foley goes into his Funk impression. But apparently Calloway said to Funk, check that he's alive. And Funk went up and very discreetly touched his face and checked his pulse and went back and said something like, he's alive. I don't know how well he is. And then took the choke slam from Taker. And it was just beautiful. It was just great. So, make sure, have a look out for it. Check out The Undertaker and Mick Foley talking about the Hell in a Cell match because it's delightful.
It sounds like the stream might have frozen, so if you didn't catch it, my Todd and I both put over the Impact Showcase with Top Tier on it. I mentioned the GCW Renegade show as my chicken salad, and Jeff was upset that we stole his, so talked about this video on, I think he said YouTube, which I'm pretty sure is that website that has all the Wrestle Radio Australia clips on it. So if you can find a moment to pull yourself away from those, that's apparently on there. But look, we've been going at this.
Sorry, before you do, also what is also on YouTube is Monday we dropped is it Monday? Tuesday we dropped Wide Bay Rumble on the Wide Bay YouTube channel. Friday night we'll be dropping
Finally.
Which I know we've had a lot of technical difficulties when it came to it. Friday will be Fight Back. Fight Back was a really, really good show. Bobby Bishop and Tim Hayden, Solomon Blackwell and Dick Riggs. Some really, really good matches on that show. And I'm really happy with the way this one turned out, like production-wise. So if you are up and around on Friday night, you don't. There's nothing on PWA-wise. There's nothing. If you're not going to the Impact show, check out Wide Bay Pro Wrestling YouTube for Fight Back. It's a hell of a show. It shows what we're doing up here.
Blackwell Riggs. Two young guys who absolutely... Anyway, we need to wrap this up. That's been Todd Eastman. That's been Jeff Setti. I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.
Oh, now I've got to remember how to do this.
Todd's not ready to turn us off yet.
I was not ready.